Alright, this video is going to show you how to make your chart if you have two trials of your data. So first I'm going to open up my trial 1 of low CO2, and what I want to do next is I want to get my trial 2 of low CO2 together with this data. So I'm going to click on the entire column B by clicking in that B, and I'm going to go Control C. I'll minimize this, and I'm going to go into C, even though it's like overlapping here. We'll take care of that in a second, and I'm going to hit Control V. To make these columns bigger, go between two till you get that double arrow, click, drag, hold. Same thing, go between the two, click, drag, hold. I'm going to relabel my titles here. We've got time, trial 1, temperature at low CO2, and trial 2 temperature at low CO2. I want to find the average of these two to graph. So I'm going to write average temperature at low CO2, and in cell D2, right where I am right now, do equals, type average in all caps, a left parenthesis, click, drag, hold, so you get both of those trials, right parenthesis, and hit enter. Now click back on that cell. There's a tiny box in the lower right, and it makes a cross if you put your cursor over it right here. Click, drag, hold that all the way down, and it copies the formula to time of 50, which is what we want. And now I've got my average temperature at low CO2. Now I need to open up my trial 1 at the higher CO2 and get that copied over. Same thing, click on that column, Control C, Control V. Same thing, I want trial 2 of higher CO2 this time. Control C, go to F here, Control V. Let's make these bigger since I know it's bothering a lot of people. And then we're going to label these trial 1 temperature at higher CO2 and trial 2 temperature at higher CO2, and then average temperature at higher CO2. Oops. Make this G column bigger as well. We'll do the same thing as we did to get the average before. Equals, average, left parenthesis, click, drag, hold, click, hold, drag, right parenthesis, enter, click back into that box, and now go all the way down to the 50. Oops, I might have gone a little far. I'm going to click on the 50 and go all the way over, and I'm going to select all of this data. And I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to choose the scatter plot, the top left, and this is way too much data, way too much. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go Select Data, and I'm going to uncheck trial 1, trial 2 because we've got the average, uncheck trial 1, trial 2 because we've got the average. So click OK. Now we should have 2 lines, yay. Go up to the left, quick layout, choose the top left one because now you can actually have axes that you can label. Make my chart a little bit bigger here so we can see. I'm going to select the y-axis and right click and go to Format Axis. And I'm going to change the minimum to be 20 for mine because that's going to spread out the data a little bit more. Then I'm going to change the title over here to the temperature in degrees Celsius. So I'm going to insert way over on the right a symbol. That was the last one I used, so I'm going to double click it, or you can click insert, and now I've got a degrees symbol. And I'm going to change the bottom to, this was of course time in seconds, and I'm going to give it a good title. The effect of low versus higher CO2 on the temperature in a closed system over time. It's long, but it's descriptive. Then what I'm going to do is I'm first going to select my low CO2 line. I'm going to right click and add a trend line. And if I scroll down here, I can go to display the equation on the chart. And I can see that the slope of this is 0.09. Oops, I'm trying to move this down a little bit next to that line. Then I'm going to select my higher CO2, right click, add a trend line, scroll down, display the equation on the chart. Wow, I can see that the slope here is much higher, 0.12. So the rate at which the temperature increased in the higher CO2 system created a higher temperature. It was a much higher rate. So now I can use my snipping tool and paste this back into the lab, or I can work on changing the colors a little bit. I wonder if I can make this 2 into a subscript. If I go home, change the font, subscript, there we go. So you can play around with it a little bit because you want to make sure your graph looks different from other people's.